Welcome, friends. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening to our podcast with Mr. Tom Royals. Hello, Mr. Royals. How are you, sir?
Greetings. How are you? And hello, parents.
Absolutely. So, really excited for this conversation. And we offered you a bit of an introduction to the podcast, but again, I think it's just great. Here, I'll just stress that in addition to all of the wonderful things that you've done for the Heights, Tom, over the course of several decades. You have sons, you have daughters who are, married. You've got grandchildren. So very
Right.
much speaking, not only as as a father of many fine children, but then also as a mentor of many parents at the Heights. So thanks for your time here.
You're welcome. Still learning, Richard. I tell you, it's still new things you discover, and particularly with a helpful spouse, that bring
Yes.
things right to you. Anyway, that's good. So,
I love it. I love it. No, and so when we hit stop on that podcast, whatever it was last week, was there anything else that came to mind that you wish you'd shared, or any kind of closing remarks or afterthoughts?
yeah, one of the things was, you can't expect perfection going forward, and what's going to happen is that our children will do things badly, and fortunately, and the hope is that you're the one there to help reshape things. And so, when you do have get-togethers and things, there could always be the concern about the drinking, and it becomes a pitfall in the upper high school ages. And so, parents don't see everything, and our children will do things that we don't see, but we have to have the attitude of being able to work with our children and see that, hey, good fun is good fun with companions, and good food, and the absence of any of that vice that taints things and brings the level down. So encouraging your children and working through. It's loving the unlovable in our children, just like our children love the unlovable in us. I mean, that I think is the one thing we have to continually work with, the wonderful virtues and strengths that they have. That was a detail.
No, that's great, and can't be reminded too often of that point. We got a question in advance, a few questions in advance of this session. One is, how does your guidance differ for, say, ninth and 10th graders from 11th and 12th graders? Is there kind of a difference of the kids, the boys' age, that you should keep in mind when you're hosting or offering your home?
Yeah, the interesting thing about that ninth and 10th grade, they are almost like fledglings, although you parents have a tendency of the fear factor of anybody who's 15, 16, 17. But there's something about that ninth grade and even 10th grade that they're discovering themselves. And in general, they want to eat. They love to eat, and you've got to find small groups to bring those ninth graders over for simple things, for games, or for TV, the March Madness games and things, and feed them. But it's at that 10th grade year that you can begin to shape and see that they're beginning to discover the coed world, the young ladies. And so there's we had parties when the children were in their junior year, but it was just beginning in their 10th grade year, where our children would bring the kids over for Fridays and Saturday night get-togethers, small things, 2 or 3 hours long, not much. But it progressed into the 11th and 12th grade, where there was a real interest in the gals, and I'm sure with young ladies towards the young men, and that's where we just decided to shape it, and we had the 16, 17-year-old party, and the gals came in dresses and invitations, guys in coat and tie, and it was well staged. But we realized that proms were coming, and and we figured, well, let's have the house be a place where we could throw a dance and a party, and you will be amazed at what the contributions of your children can be, particularly when they're in that 11th and 12th grade age, what they'll do. It's a really taking back of the culture and bringing things to the home and having the comfortability of your young children see that the home can be a great place. So there was something, a gradual development in the awakening and awareness towards the young ladies, and young ladies towards the young men, and the house becoming a place where you could stage different types of get-togethers.
Awesome. That's really helpful. And I think this question, particularly of interaction between, the boys and their friends, the ladies, there were questions about just, I think, related to the home, but also as a general matter, um, how best to introduce these kids to each other, and
Oh yeah.
especially how, there's a concern, being at a boys' school, does that lead to a young man down the road who's, totally awkward with the opposite sex, or, and how do, obviously you've got children who are very happily married and seems to
Yes.
have done well for your kids, but how do
Yes.
you bridge this gap, for guys at an all boys school?
Yeah. It's a very interesting thing is parents, dads and their wives, the spouses need to be in unity, and they have to know and pray, what can we do for our children, our son, our daughter, what can we do to introduce him, one, to bring his friends over and to get that confidence, and that he can entertain, he can welcome the kids, the guys coming in, he can provide the food. It's work, but it's good work. And then it becomes the issue of, is what's the strength of your son, what's the strength of your daughter, are they an introvert, is it going to be hard for them to interact and bring young ladies over, maybe pool your resources with other parents that in which the friends can have the get together at their house. But another wonderful ally is lots of the companion classes with your daughters. You may have a daughter who's a year older or a year younger, the same age, twins, who knows what it is, but companion grades have capacity for introducing and interacting with the guys. So the girls' schools are always looking for, I'm sure the parents are always looking for, how are we going to introduce our daughters to guys? Well, sisters can work, neighborhood gals can work, even sports teams. Our son was a swimmer, and the gals on the swim team where he swam were just had get-togethers, pizza parties after meets and things, and so there was an interaction. And our son, being a terrific introvert, we didn't think, no way he's going to have anything at our home, but he really shocked us. Hey, you did this for the older, Andrew and Ellen and Ann. What about me? And it was an absolute hit. It was such a hit that it was like you clear the dining room and that became the dance floor. There was everyone's dressed well, ties and coats and lasagna dinner. Can you believe it? And the guys coming to the kitchen. Mrs. Royals, what can we do to help? It's like, oh my gosh, how is this happening? But it was a delight. So you find ways for the young ladies to interact and bring them to the home, and just finding ways, good ways with companion grades and other couples that
That's great. I mean, so it sounds like, this is kind of a little bit off script, and it doesn't lean on any of the questions that we received, but it's something that I'm asked a lot in my admissions work. What do you do as a school to facilitate these interactions? Do you host dances or whatever else? And
Right.
it sounds like I mean, we rely heavily on the parents, and it sounds like that
Yes.
kind of
Yeah.
plays well with what you just proposed. I mean, parents are the primary educators, and so it seems like there's
Yes.
a special role here for parents themselves to undertake.
Yes, yeah, that's wonderful. The other wonderful thing about it is that we have a drama department here, and Joe Bissix leads the charge, and the young fellows have their performances, and who do they invite to their performances but the young ladies? And it's like they're like they're like in the background, yay, and afterwards they're gonna give high fives. But it's a wonderful interaction. It's an opportunity. It's a means. looking for the means to have the guys and gals together. And it really is a parent effort to try to host those things, events at the house, small things, informal events, and formal events if possible. Another wonderful thing is that the house can be a place for a meeting, and then off they would go to get something to eat, or to a Fourth of July party, or and then come back for or to Fourth of July fireworks and come back. So sometimes your house, and that's in the junior and senior time, where it's a gathering, food, get-togethers, and then boom, off they go, and then back they come to get picked up. Parents would arrive at the house and things like that. So staging opportunities.
That's great. Staging. Um, we had a question from the podcast. Somebody wondered if you could speak more to the theme of perfectionism. I think we mentioned it as something that's kind of a possible pitfall, but what exactly do you mean by that, and
Yeah.
how to avoid it?
Well, the best. Remember that line? Is it Chesterton? Oh, please, if you're a Chesterton scholar, I apologize. The best is the enemy of the good. But the point is, it's really true. You can't get things picture perfect. And the house. One of the interesting things, well, that parents have to become aware of is, a Friday or Saturday is a day to rest. And you, what do you mean have parties? That's crazy. But rest doesn't mean not doing anything. I just heard something this morning on this, that rest means doing something differently. And rest means expanding an opportunity so that it brings something new to you and to your children. And so the as simple as a March Madness party, in which it's elegant, but you've got to get the guys to clean the house. Your sons, you want people over, clean the house. So there has to be some level of pitching in and keeping, making the house look well, and informal get-togethers, in which there's pizza, or maybe there's tacos, or maybe there's meatball subs. I don't know. Guys just love that stuff, and when they eat, they're like they're filled with vim and vigor, you know. But I think you've got to realize that you've got to, it's the whole thing of what is it? Planning, staging, the events, and the execution, and working through the events, closure and cleanup. And so the thing about the planning is such that it makes you work with your son. You're in the background. Parents are in the kitchen doing something, whatever it is, but it doesn't have to be picture perfect. There's always going to be flubs. Someone's going to drop something. Something's going to happen. But you have to realize that you have to want to give your children the very opportunity that they see you doing with your adult friends. They watch us. They keep us. I remember we had an engagement party for one of my colleagues way back, and the house was teeming with faculty and their wives. Maybe we had 40, 45, but our children were on the stairs watching. And particularly when Father Malcolm was playing the piano and jazz music, and our son was into classical music only. Well, his life turned upside down when he heard jazz. But what they observe, what our children observe when we have dinner parties, or even small get-togethers, if it's a feast day, or some just event, somebody's in town and everybody's coming over, and they watch how we do things. They watch our moms coming up with the best, hors d'oeuvre, or the dessert, or dad's got his, he's got everything planned. He's got the glasses out, and he's got the sodas, and with parents, there's the wine out. He's watching, the children are watching what their parents, and that's what they want to be affirmed, so that when the parents can help their young children stage something, okay, encouraging, forming, greet the people. Okay, get their coats, and there's a bring them up to your sister's bedroom. No, not on my bed. No, come on, you got to work it out with your sister. We'll use her room. But working things out, and having it go in as natural, and in just human nature is is messy. And so you got to try to keep things with a great natural and upbeat spirit, always looking and affirming the good, you know.
I love that. No, it's great. And yeah, I love the full range of events, everything from, quick stop in, snack, and then you're off to downtown for the fireworks to,
Yeah.
Ritz crackers and ketchup to,
Well, Parmesan cheese. That's
yeah,
Ritz crackers, Parmesan cheese, and sauce. It's,
there
it's
you
like
go.
mini
Like
pizzas.
mini pizzas.
It's the inexpensive way. Yeah.
Yeah, or the
Yeah.
Domino's pickup
Yeah.
at home. I mean, there's so many different
Yeah.
ranges all the way up to the Thai and the
Yes.
I mean, that's really
Yeah.
cool
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff. And another great question came in. What are so it sounds like you've done this a lot in your home, and this person wants to know what are activities that you'd avoid or just lessons learned from your own entertaining. If you could go back and do it again, what would you not do?
When you look at like possible, pitfalls, I think the thing is that the basements can always be, the friends come over and, oh my gosh, take them down to the basement, get them out of the way. You've got to be cautious, because when they're out of sight, they're out of mind, and you've got to work. When parents bring their guests over, the parents, and have get-togethers and cocktail parties, then all right, let's go down to the basement and have our events down there. It's the elevation of the tone of the house, and so that's the thing you've got to look at, is you keep things in presence. And that's why when you've got to know your house, you've got to know the rooms in your house, and the flow that can happen. And you've got maybe a TV room here or something like that, and you know what, maybe the TV could be down in a lower living room area. But what happens is that parents need to continually make their own flow, passing through, picking up something here, they're bringing another plate of absolute, tacos teeming with, cheese and ground beef, or brownies that are just coming out of the oven that the kids smell. And they come into the kitchen. What are you making, Mister? Hey, can we help? Or, in other words, the parents' presence can and ought to be always doing and disappearing. And they're coming in, and you're making the swell and the swing through. And hey, how's it going? Interacting, engaging with the young, the friends of your sons and daughters. Hey, how's your father doing? Hey, your mom. Hey, your sister was over here. Remembering them, engaging them, and treating them like they are, like noble, good young men and women. And working, even the backyard can be something good, in the sense of, tables are out there with a cloth, and you've got your sodas and your water out there, and in which you're making a flow, making a circuit as you go along. But there's going to be pitfalls, and things are going to happen, and it just depends on your disposition. How you can help shape, turn something that's kind of reaching a dark age. Okay, we got to avoid this pitfall here. Okay, nobody goes out in the front and gets in their cars and comes back. Hey, when they arrive, everybody's here for the 2 or 3 hours, or whatever the designated time is that you've arrived. And within those boundaries is terrific amounts of freedom. It almost sounds like kids, high school kids think, oh my gosh, you fence us in. No, you're not. You're giving them a great opportunity to engage with their friends. Sorry to ramble on there.
No, it's not a ramble at all, and it makes perfect sense. And it reminds me of another Chesterton passage. Actually, I think it's Orthodoxy, where he talks about Joan of Arc, and he says that basically she, it wasn't that she was totally fenced in. I can't remember exactly the words, but she had a road, she had a path, and she went down it like a thunderbolt. And it seems like what our young people need, what we all need, is just like lanes. And if we once we find our lane,
Yes.
we just have the freedom to tear down in that
To
direction.
tear down it, and it is amazing to watch, how much fun
Hmm.
they would have. I made that one anecdote. It got so informal, and so, well, it wasn't comfortable. Can you imagine, having students that you had occasional disciplinary difficulties, and good thing, just healthy stuff at school, and suddenly they were at our house, and that one scene where that, come on in, Mr. Royals, we're having a party, what is this guy doing? But what happens is that there was a good nature, and I think the when you help your son and daughter realize, the house is yours. Let's what can we do to help? And when you engage in just informally with the young men and young women that come over, and just treat them, they're great, noble young people seeking the good, and 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 uh, and welcoming them into your home is really a plus. It really lights a fire of being welcome. It's really the rightful duty of a host is to welcome the guest and make them feel like they are the only one, the noble, very ennobled. And so, and that's what is cherished, I think, when off they go, and they're welcome, they're ready for the next one, or they're going to have it at their friend's house. It almost encourages the opportunities of having other get-togethers at other people's homes.
Yeah, I love that. Another kind of a big picture question, but why do we? I mean, we say that one of the reasons we do this is to teach our sons to socialize, how to socialize. But taking a step back, what is the goal of socializing? Why is it so important? Why do we socialize? It's kind of a neat philosophical question.
Yeah, it is. And the one thing, remember that word, a company is to break bread, and a meal was an occasion. Meal is an occasion of taking food and feasting and granting that to others, bringing the other people in. Well, you start with your own family. And that's why, it's the meals that come along, and suddenly a birthday comes, or there's a feast day, or there's an anniversary, or there's a massive solemnity, a big thing, or a civic holiday, and you celebrate those things because the culture that we want to give to our children is that developing idea of being aware of the goodness that they have in the land that they live in the culture that is attuned to their faith. And as they get older, that's what you pray and hope that they will take when they become of age and discovering their vocation to marriage and to raising their own family, that those very occasions and events of happiness and become lived in their homes. So you're actually doing the work and doing the joyful and entertaining and festivity. And it's not that it's, okay, I'm planning this because in 20 years he's going to do this. No, it's the natural capacity of a husband and a wife to have fun and to invite people over and to have an appreciation for good food and good wine at the house because of this occasion or that occasion, and so that they'll take that with them when they get older. It's natural. If it's natural, it becomes part of the fabric, and they know how to do things. They also, interesting, how you go to wedding receptions and there's always the highlight, there's the toast, or at Christmas time there's the dinner and the people are eating Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving dinner, and there's a moment in which there's a toast or a birthday, so toasting is always a moment of elevation, and it's an elevation because of the goodness of the event, of the goodness of the people involved, and of the honor that a dad and a mom, the host, is bringing to the guests and to those that are coming. All wonderful natural cultural virtues that you're cultivating with your children present, so that they'll take that when they get older.
That's great. That's great, and it reminds me of the art of toasting. I mean, there's an art to that, and it's a fun one.
Yeah, boy, pay attention to the Heights guys when the Klan faculty do that.
Yeah, yeah,
It's always tongue in
absolutely.
cheek, but it's delightful.
Yeah,
It's a delight.
yeah, absolutely. Um, And then I should offer a reminder to our guests, if you'd like to submit questions here, feel free to do so. You can use a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen as we start to hit the end of the questions submitted in advance. But another, I guess the last question here, a listener wondered if you had heard of the virtue of eutrapelia. I'm no Greek scholar, but apparently it's the virtue of right recreation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is that AE?
So eutrapelia.
Oh, that's got, geez, I wonder if that's from our one of our brilliant Latin scholars here. I don't, but it means what did he qualify and provide you with some information?
Yeah, the virtue of right recreation.
Okay, right, recreation. Yes. Okay. Wow. Well, I have not heard of it, but what's interesting, it's oftentimes Greek, so they provide the inside out, to everything. The good Greeks and but what it is, it's oftentimes lived naturally without maybe understanding the actual virtue itself.
Yeah.
But the virtue, knowing the name, helps to comprehend what you're doing. The right virtue lived out, and it's what a get together of young people is all about. The right action, the right virtue of living it out. You know, the entertaining, the bringing in, and the jollity that happens with 8 or 9 ninth grade guys that are suddenly completely captivated by some game they're playing.
Mhm.
And then in the other room, there's 5 or 6 guys that are the philosophers. Oh well, what about this concept of uh, education? And then the other group, you've got guys that are all into sports and jocular things, and but what you're actually done is you provided a means and a place where the young people can have that confidence to have a sense of leisure,
Um,
to be able to do that. Eutrapelia, am I right?
yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I'll be corrected, I'm sure. The other interesting thing that helps to inform that sense in comprehending it, what we've done, is that a parents, there's always the preparation. There's the planning, the staging, and then the event begins and welcoming the coats and bringing them in, the execution, working the event from room to room and such, closure and cleanup. But what is vital prior to it, and not so much always prior to the event, but parents need to pray for their children. It's that line that you only pray in times of contradiction and and um, conflagration. You go to your knees, but there are times in which you have just throwaway prayers when things are calm. I had heard just this morning, Saint Teresa had this great line when there wasn't any contradictions that were befalling her, to which she prayed, God, don't you love me anymore? And what it is you pray for what seems like wasted prayers, but you pray for my daughter, my son, her husband, pray for this. But you go down the list and you throw away prayers, and the grace that's there, it's that actual grace that comes at the moment that helps that virtue to be lived out in the moment. And you pray for that. You can't plan everything, and everything is not going to be perfect. But if you commit yourself to, with your spouse, working with your children to provide opportunities of fun and just absolute enjoyment, and if the intention is there, you'll get the graces to pull it off, and it'll be fun, and you'll be glad you didn't not do anything that day. You pulled it off. It was a different kind of rest that brought great joy.
Absolutely. I love it. I think this is a really important conversation because I was reminded the other day of a book, iGen by Gene Twenge, I think is the last name. But just one of the effects on young people, on this entire generation, of the portable computer, the cellular device,
Yes.
it's kind of they get an aversion
Yes.
to risk taking,
Yes.
including
Yeah.
social risk taking.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I think this is a really important conversation because
Yes.
we have to provide a place for these risks to be
Yes.
be learned. Or I'm not putting it well, but I think it's a very timely conversation.
No, no, you're right. The weather's changing, and sure, there are those COVID measures, all those things. You go into the backyard, but you find the opportunity, and you grasp it. You find that opportunity.
I love it. I love it. Well, very good. We've reached the end of our question queue here, and I'm reminded of a great podcast, but also just many great evenings spent as a high school in your home. You taught, you walked the walk, and you talk the talk home. So
Still
thank you.
learning. No,
Still
that's
learning.
great.
Amen to
Good.
that. Well, thank
Good.
you, our guests, for being here, and
Great.
stay tuned. Keep sending questions our way. You guys make this project go. So thank you very much.
Good. Happy Holy Week and happy Easter to everybody.
Amen to that. Happy Easter. Happy
Good.
Holy Week. Farewell,
Good.
everybody.